Good morning, everyone. My name is Jenna Kern-Ruggiel, and my pronouns are she and her. I am the worship associate this morning. I'm pleased to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Huntington, and hello to all of you who are watching us on Zoom now or later on YouTube. I'd like to extend a special welcome today to newcomers. If you are new to our congregation and want to speak with someone to learn more about us, please visit our membership table in the social hall or speak to one of the greeters you met on your way in. Know that whoever you are, whomever you love, and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here.
Come, beloveds. Enter into this space made holy by our presence. Enter into this hour made holy by our intention. Come to grow here. Come to help others grow. Let us grow together. Enter in and let us worship together.
This morning, Bill Hawkins will light our chalice. This flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We kindle the flame of our faith in the cup of our covenant as we enter into worship together. We gather this morning as one community, a community united by common ideals: love, justice, diversity, freedom, mutual care, equity. Yet look around. Look at the faces of those around you. Each face represents an individual, every one of us with our own stories, needs, strengths, and faults. We light our chalice today, honoring our common connection, and also the uniqueness that lives within each of us. Thank you, Bill. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join in singing our first hymn, number 360, Here We Have Gathered. I invite you to join in speaking our UUFH mission together. The words are on the screen. In religious community, we nurture our individual spirits through caring for one another and helping to heal the world. Now is time for Moments of the Heart. You are invited to light a candle for something deep in your heart today. Cindy Vulcan-Niebuhr, today's Pastoral Care Associate, will join us at the candles in front, and she has a basket for cards for joys and concerns you'd like shared with the congregation. She also has blank cards and pens if you'd like to write something now. As the music plays, I invite you to come forward or to go to the candle table. Oh, there is no candle table in the back, so please come forward. There it is. Or go in the back.
Beloveds, we have a few prayers of concern and joy and thanksgiving today. I'm not sure I can read this name. For Karen, healing after her accident. May Danielle receive the gift of a beautiful baby. I think it says Danielle. Might not be this Danielle. I don't know which Danielle it is. For those suffering in the wildfires in Southern California. And indeed, we do pray for all those who have lost their lives, for those who have lost all their property, and for the first responders, and for everyone else who has been affected and evacuated. Beth Feldman is home from Belgium and recovering from a broken kneecap, wishing her a speedy recovery. We have a couple of people wishing Amy Olander a speedy recovery after surgery. And we have a couple of prayers for sending love to Sue McGovern, the ultimate caregiver, as her sister Mary is in the hospital. And we have another prayer for Mary in the hospital. And then we have a joy here, Thanksgiving. Larry W. says, we welcome the newest member of our family, Sandy, an 8-week-old beagle. Beloveds, we understand prayer in so many different ways, yes? Some of us pray in words familiar to us since our youth. Some of us pray to a deity or to something we don't quite understand or something larger and outside of ourselves. Some of us meditate and send good thoughts to the universe. Some of us simply say these things out loud to remind us of the work we still need to do. However you understand prayer, will you join me now? Spirit of life and love, divine one known to us in so many names, by no name and beyond all naming. Help us to be hands of the divine in the world. Help us to support one another, and especially those who are grieving, in pain, and also those who are ill and recovering from illness or injury. Help us to celebrate joys with one another, for we know that if we can celebrate even just a little bit, it lifts all hearts, if only for a moment. Help us to come together in community that we may build the beloved community and make the world we seek. We pray in all that is holy. Amen. I invite you to join in singing Spirit of Life. The words are on the screen, and it's hymn number 123 in the gray hymnal if you do not know the tune. Spirit of Well, friends, have you ever known anybody who knows everything already? Do you know what I mean? You can't tell that person anything because that person knows everything already. Well, friends, let's hear a story about what happens when we know everything already. This is a Buddhist story, and so I'm going to take off my shoes because you know when I tell sacred stories, what do? I take off my shoes. This is a Buddhist story from Japan. About 100 years ago in Japan, there lived a great Zen master named Nan-in. And one day, a university professor, does anybody know any university professors? A university professor decided to go visit Nan-in at his temple. And he appeared and greeted Nan-in, and Nan-in welcomed him so warmly. He said, come in, please. Join me for tea. And Nan-in took the professor to the tea room, and they sat down at a small bare table right across from one another. Well, they sat, and Nan-in was sitting quietly and contentedly, and occasionally smiling at the professor and nodding. Sometimes he looked out the window to appreciate the beautiful garden in the temple. And he said nothing. And the professor was wondering where the tea was because it hadn't come in yet. And he sat for a little while, but he got impatient very quickly. Does anybody here get impatient very quickly? Yeah, he couldn't sit still. He started fidgeting. He was mindlessly drumming his fingers on the table. Does anybody ever do that? Have you ever drummed your fingers on the table? Yeah, I see some people who do that. Can you drum your fingers on the seat in front of you for a second? Just for a few seconds, because there's somebody who might be sitting there. Yeah. And he was wondering where the tea was because it hadn't been served yet. Sometimes he'd look at the door where the tea should have been coming from. Finally, he couldn't take it any longer, and he had to talk, and he had to say something. And the only thing that came into his mind to have a conversation about was the lecture he had just given at the university, a lecture on Buddhism. And so he cleared his throat, and he began to give his lecture. Nan-in was the best audience. He looked at the professor and he smiled. And he nodded sometimes at the professor's most important points. He was the most gracious audience. And so the professor continued. It had been about a half hour, and there was still no tea. So the professor kept talking, and Nan-in kept listening. And finally, my friends, someone came in with a beautiful tea tray with cups and the beautiful china teapot, and placed it right on the table, or rather a clay teapot, placed it right on the table in between the two gentlemen. And in the style of the Japanese tea ceremony, Nan-in carefully picked up one of the cups and placed it before his guest. And then he picked up the teapot and began to pour into the cup. And he kept pouring, and he kept pouring, and he kept pouring. And finally, the tea was overflowing the rim of the cup and right onto the lap of his guest. Well, he stopped his lecture abruptly at that moment. He said, "Stop, what are you doing? What are you doing? Can't you see? There's no more room in this cup, it's full." And Nan-in said, just like this cup You are too full, my friend. There is no more room. You are too full with ideas and opinions, and there is no room for you to learn. You must first empty your cup so that then we may learn together and learn something new about Buddhism. Beloveds, the children and the teachers are going to go to their classrooms now. We're going to sing them out with our special song. Go now in peace, may the
Our reading this morning is For Religion to be Significant by the Reverend Mark Bellatini. It can be found on the Unitarian Universalist Association's worship web, which is uua.org. For religion to be significant, it has to provide more than the comforts of community. It also has to provide opportunities for deepening, for what I call spiritual growth, and for the casting down of false images and stereotypes which hurt us all. A good religion has to open us up to the real diversity of our modern world. For our work as liberal religious people is not to be competitive with others and to find ways to supersede others, but rather to find ways to supersede ourselves, to grow beyond our limitations and our constrictive boundaries, each and every one of us. Diversity, you see, must not end up being some sort of feel-good slogan, a word we keep in our back pocket to make us feel like we're broad-minded. Diversity is a gift, but it cannot be a gift unless it is received. It is only received when there are hands and hearts open enough to receive it. And the opening of fists into welcoming hands and welcoming hearts is our spiritual work.
I get to watch Dylan from close up when Dylan's playing, and I hope you don't mind me embarrassing you like this. And, yeah. But he has such a joy in his work. May we all have that kind of joy. Yeah. You know what's joyful work for a lot of people is gardening. Are there any gardeners here? Yeah. Okay. I always thought that I was a complete disaster with plants. Well, I was for a long time. And then about 5.5 years ago, I decided that I really wanted to do some planting around my house, so I had to learn some stuff. And I've gotten much better. I'm no master gardener. But I've had to learn about things like I knew you could underwater things. I once underwatered a cactus. That is possible. I did it. But you can overwater things, right? You can't plant plants that need full sun in the shade, you know? And hostas are going to do better in the shade. Also, deer like hostas a lot. I found that out, too. Yeah. Now, do you know that our board, we all have succulents? At our board retreat, we painted little pots for them, and we all have a succulent. And I'm not going to ask you how your succulent is doing. You don't have to, but we're all learning to tend our succulents, and the plan is that we should water them on the day of the board meeting, so that we remember once a month to water our succulents. And then sometimes we show each other on Zoom. Mine's doing all right. I'm pleased. Now, of course, things grow in the wild. Yes? Things grow, and if we leave them alone, they will grow, but we can also tend to things. Sometimes things grow in the wild that don't really belong there. If you've ever been in the South, you know kudzu is a blight. And covers whole trees, and it kills them, right? So sometimes we have to mind the wild also. But we can learn to tend things. And one of the things that, why is she talking about gardening? Because tending a congregation is a lot like gardening. We have to be mindful of what we're planting and how we're allowing things to grow and how we're encouraging things to grow. Now, a lot of people talk about congregational growth. And when I hear that in congregations, most of the time what people are saying is, we want more members. They're thinking of growth in numbers, but you know that is not the only type of growth, right? So there are 5 types of congregational growth that have been identified by studies and by the Alban Institute, and these 5 types are that I've pulled from the UUA Leader Lab website, and they've been adapted from More Than Numbers, The Way Churches Grow, by Lauren B. Mead, and that was published by the Alban Institute. So the first of these is organic growth. And this is the task of building the community, fashioning the organizational structures, developing the practices and processes that result in a dependable, stable network of human relationships in which we can grow and from which we can make a difference. It is also the physical plant and the staff needed for the size of the congregation. So you're already doing a lot of these things, right? Do you know that UUFH, that you changed your governance structure about, a year and a half ago? 2 years ago? About 2 years ago? Did you know that? Or are you sitting there saying, what's governance? That's the board and policy, stuff like that. You changed your governance structure to make it fit better with what a board really can be doing well, which is visioning into the future, setting policy, being good fiduciaries, that is caretakers, of the congregation and the physical plant of the congregation, but also looking toward the future. So you're doing that. But what could be better? What could be better in this organic growth? Do you have the staffing that you need right now? I see some, no. Well, you know, we're right now without a director of religious education, or some people say a director of lifespan faith development. One of the things we're looking at, or you're looking at, is perhaps sharing a director of lifespan faith development, a full-time director, with Stony Brook. That's in early stages, and both congregations would have to agree, and that's a whole new model. Oh, that sounds like organic growth, right? Right now, we have a half-time music director. Maybe you would like a more robust music ministry. I've heard people talking about, you know, we ought to have a children's choir. Maybe we could have a family drop-in choir. Maybe we could do different things. So that would require eventually more hours for your music director. What other staffing needs do you think you might want? A bus driver for the fellowship bus? Oh no, never mind. That's. Oh, a sexton. Maybe you want a sexton. You know what a sexton is? That's church speak for custodian or building manager. And sextons do different things in different congregations. Some of them do more custodial work, keeping the place clean, and some do minor repairs, some do major repairs, some do more of a facilities management role. But a sexton is a really interesting and good thing to have, and maybe you want to explore that. You have to know what you need before you can decide how you're going to make that happen, right? Now, there's maturational growth, and this is the ability of a congregation to challenge, support, and encourage each one of its members to grow in the maturity of their faith, to deepen their spiritual roots, and to broaden their religious imagination. It is also the ability of the congregation as an institution to go deeper into the faith while maintaining the welcoming path for newcomers. So what does it mean, as you use, to accompany one another on this faith journey, on a spiritual journey, knowing that we're on many different paths? Were you here in the fall when we did the thing where people stood all around the sanctuary and we looked at, you know, all the different core theologies that we hold? Sometimes we can fall into the habit of thinking, oh, we're all this, but we're not, right? We're all over. So that's, how do we accompany one another and encourage one another? How do our Buddhists encourage our atheists to be the best atheists, the most faithful atheists they can be, while the atheists are encouraging the Christians to be the best Christians they can be, and while the Christians are encouraging the Wiccans to be the best Wiccans they can be, and really everybody's encouraging everybody. How do we do that? How are you doing on your own spiritual journey? Are you in the same place you were when you first came here? Or have you deepened your faith? Have you matured in your faith? Have you come to new understandings? And are you actually working on it? There's incarnational growth. What are the outputs of the congregation's ministry? What is it that the congregation seeks to export from its life back into the life of the world, the social environment in which it exists. What are the good works that we are doing that will make the world a better place? Well, you're doing stuff already, right? You're doing some stuff. You're working with LIAC. Does everybody know what LIAC is? What the heck is LIAC? Long Island Area Council. What it doesn't say after that is of UU congregations. So you do work with LIAC. In this congregation, you do work with the interfaith community around Huntington. You work with HANA, Huntington Area Network Against Hate. You work with the interfaith. I attend regular meetings of the interfaith faith leaders. We meet once a month, and then we do things like, how many of you attended the interfaith Thanksgiving service? And put your hands way up so folks can see. Yeah, a bunch of folks. That was a good service, yeah? As I'm putting that was a good service. Yeah, it was a good service, though. And in what other ways are you leveraging your power? The next 4 years are going to be challenging, yeah? For the work that we need to do in the world. And it's good to bring cans and support Hi and to send some money, but that's not going to be enough in the coming years, right? How are you gearing up to grow your presence on Long Island? Then there's growing in connections, growing awareness of the importance and relevance of our connections, that is, involvement in our cluster, and the district, regional, and national activities related to the UUA and other connections. So how are you involved in the greater UU world? I know some of you, like LIAC is a start. Who's been like a liaison to LIAC? Who's worked with LIAC? Some hands there. Okay. How many of you have done anything or been part of work for the Central East region? Okay. When this used to be the Metro New York district, we don't have districts anymore. Did anybody ever serve in the Metro New York district, for example, on the board? I see a hand back, way in the back. How about in the UUA? Has anybody ever held an office in the UUA or volunteered at a UUA-wide thing? Yes, I see a few hands. Excellent, excellent. You know you can do that, right? It's not just ministers and people from large congregations. If you feel like you could be of service on the UUA board, you should let the nominating committee know. Do you know that I was elected, I serve on the Commission on Appraisal? Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. Our last report came out in 2021. We're working on a current report now. Our last report was on covenant. How many of you have read reports from the Commission on Appraisal or from other commissions in the UUA? Yeah, some good. They're a good report, right? Do you get useful things from them? Yeah, yeah. Being connected, it's important. We are not the only UU congregation in New York. We're not the only one on Long Island. And Long Island isn't the only place where there are UU congregations, right? It's really interesting to connect with folks who are, UUs in border areas in Texas and Arizona, or UUs in Southern California, which, by the way, if you want to support folks in Southern California, you can always contribute to the UU Disaster Relief Fund, and there are other folks working. World Central Kitchen is working in Southern California, and so is the Red Cross, and I'm sure others too, but that's an aside. Back to your regularly scheduled sermon. So it's another type of growth. And then there's numerical growth. And that's what people often mean when they say we need to grow. But we need to grow in all the ways. Numerical growth is adding new members while maintaining the number of members already within the congregation, right? So it's not replacing, it's adding while maintaining. Keeping track of losses and understanding why they happen. Changing the things that need to be changed in order to retain healthy members. never compromising on ethics or principles, understanding that some losses are healthy or inevitable. So my question for you is, why do you want to grow in numbers? Now I'm going to ask you to take a minute, and for those of you online, I'm going to ask you to share in the chat with one another and read the chat. And for those in here, I'm going to ask you, we're just going to take a couple of minutes. I want you to share with the people near you in the chairs, the pew chairs, why you would like this congregation to grow in numbers. Ready? Go. And for those of you online, this is the time to pay attention to the chat. All right, can you come on back together? Come on back. I hope you can continue these conversations. You know there's lunch today. You're going to stay for lunch? You can continue these conversations over lunch. I would let you go on longer, but you know, it's really hard for folks who are watching online, and especially for folks who are going to be watching at a later time online, to just have that buzz and there's nothing much going on. So we're not going to go on too long here. But I hope that you heard some good things. Now, I'm not going to embarrass anybody by asking you for hands, but most of the time when I go into congregations and I ask about why they want to grow, somebody will say to me, well, we really need more money, and we need more folks to pledge, and so we want to grow so that we can continue to. And friends, guess what? Not only is that not a reason to grow, but it does not lead to growth. You know why? Because nobody wants to be invited into a congregation and then immediately asked, and because we want your money. That's different from stewardship, and I'm going to ask you to be generous when we get to stewardship next month, but that's not a reason to grow, because then people feel like you only want me here for my bank account, right? But I'm interested to know, did anybody say, we want to grow because we have an important message for our area? Oh, I see a lot of hands. Excellent. Did anybody say, we want to grow because we could leverage more people and really do more in the world and do the work of our faith together? Did anybody say anything like that? Yeah? Did anybody say, we want to grow in numbers because I want to grow in numbers because bringing new people in will also help me to grow as an individual. Didn't? Yeah. You know, when you grow in numbers, things change. If you want a social club of people just like you, who think just like you do, and like all the things that you do, and like to do things all in the same way that you do, that is a social club, that's an exclusive club, and that's not a faith community. But if you think that you have a good message for the world, if you think that it would be good to do that with more people, and if you're ready to be changed by the people who come in, if you are ready to be changed by the people who come in, then you are ready for growth, and you will grow because you've thought of these things. And you've thought of all the other ways in which there's congregational growth. You're working on your own growth. You're working on understanding the best way to staff your congregation and the best way to govern your congregation. All of these things will help you. Most congregations find a way to be the size that they want to be. I've never heard a congregation say to me outright in words, "We do not want to grow." But I've had congregations show me, "We do not want to grow." Do you know what I mean? So if you're ready for this, if you want to grow in numbers, you have to pay attention to all the other areas of growth. And then what do you have to do? You have to be truly welcoming for new folks. That doesn't just mean greeting them the one time that they come in, the first time that they come in. That's important. But it goes beyond that. It's making sure people know how to be connected, that we're checking in. At coffee hour, that we're not just talking to the people we know, but that when we see somebody we don't know, we don't assume it's their first time. We say, "Hey, have we met yet?" I've served a lot of congregations, and believe me, I see people on Sundays that maybe haven't been in a while, that maybe I forgot I met them back in September and now it's March. So I say all the time, "Have we met yet?" And sometimes the answer is, "Yes, we have. Thank you." That's much better than me saying, "Oh, welcome. Are you new here?" "No, I've been a member for 37 years. Okay. Right? So it's the way we phrase things, too. I've heard people say to folks who are dressed up for Sunday morning, "Oh, and you don't even have to dress up to come here." Does that sound welcoming to you? No. Do you know why it's not welcoming? Because some of us have worked in fields where we have to wear a uniform all the time at work, or work clothes, and Sunday might be the one chance I have to put on my nicest clothes. And you telling me that my nicest clothes don't fit here? So it's being aware of what we say and how we say it and how it's landing with other people. Can we all learn to be more welcoming? Absolutely. I mean, I'm always learning. I'm always learning. And can we do it? I know you can. I know you can do this. Do you want to grow? Do you in your heart of hearts want to grow in numbers in this congregation? Yeah? Do you? Yes. Maybe? Do you want to grow in numbers? Yes. Yeah, okay. Then you can make it happen. I think you have an important message for this area. I think you're an important congregation, and I think you have it in you. So if you want to make it happen, let's get started in doing the work. Amen? And namaste. Now, beloveds, I touched on finances for just a moment, but financial growth is also a type of growth. Growing in responsibility and in stewardship of the congregation. So today, speaking of growth, we are I'm running back here for another microphone. We are recognizing members of UUFH's Legacy Circle, and these are people who've chosen to make a legacy donation to UUFH to keep the congregation growing in health after they pass on. At this time, I ask Sue McGovern to come forward. Sue is chair of the Legacy Circle, and she will have a few words to share in a moment. Dear tech people, I can't get this microphone on that I need to give to Sue. Do you want to say them from the pulpit? You can do them from, okay. Never mind, she's going to speak from the pulpit. So as I call the names of the founding members, would you please come forward to the front if you are here and able to do so? Bob Bader, Harvey Ballapole, I'm saying that right, Ballapole? Harvey Ballapole, Jan Brenner, Lisa Burby, Steve Burby, Brian Cohen, Deb Cohen, Eric Gerdy, Gerdy or Gerd? Gerdy. Laura Gerdy, Bill Bill Houck, sorry. Peggy Coulias, Shelley Lauer Bader, Sylvia Lipnick, sorry. Jean Mara, Sue McGovern is already here, George Murphy, Amy and Lars Olander, Susan Peters, Jen Sapel, Kim Schultz, Ann Skolnick, Bob Slauson, Patty Slauson, Kathy Zillman, and Brigitte Zimmer. So now you get to listen to Sue for a few minutes, and then we're going to thank you.
Good morning on this really good news day. The UUFH Legacy Circle was created as a part of our 75th anniversary celebration. Legacy giving provides for the financial stability of the fellowship, which helps ensure that our ministry, our mission, and vision will continue for future generations. We're here today to recognize and celebrate and to thank these founding members of the new Legacy Circle at UUFH. These 25 people have made a commitment to and an investment in UUFH by including the fellowship in their wills or their estate plans. Some couldn't be with us today because they are not able, they're ill, or they presently live outside of the area now. Their generosity will make a positive difference and will be felt well beyond their lifetime. In addition to estate donations, legacy gifts can be given to the endowment or to the new sustainability fund during your lifetime, and it's a way of honoring a loved one, a friend, a member who has helped transform your life. Today, we want to recognize and thank the following, who made donations to the endowment fund: Bill Hecker's estate, Jan Brenner and Bill Houck, Laura and Eric Gerdy, Susan Peters, and other anonymous donors. The Lynn Cryer and Natalie Frevert estates, as well as a member's family, have donated to the Sustainability Fund. Finally, I want to recognize the Legacy Circle team, who has worked with me diligently over the past year plus. They are Jan Brenner, Lisa Burby, Brian Cohen, and Kim Schultz. We hope you will consider including the fellowship in your estate planning, if you haven't already. There is more information on the website, or you can speak to one of the team members if you have questions. Please let us know when you're ready to join. And thank you once again to those founding members.
Thank you, Sue. Yes. Absolutely. Let's give, it is right to give these founding members our thanks.
Each week, we give an offering for our split plate program. That means that undesignated donations are split between the UUFH and our charity of the month unless you indicate otherwise. This month, we are collecting for H2 Empower's book project in Ethiopia. How can a young person learn about the world around them and expand their mind while understanding more about themselves in the process? A fantastic way is through the power of reading. Imagine a school for 4,500 children with just 10 books. Imagine never having the wonder of a picture book in your hands. H2 Empower is dedicated to doing its part to end this drought of literature. Since 2003, H2 Empower, with support from the UUFH and many others, has sent 95,000 books to schools throughout Ethiopia, and their efforts are ongoing. Starting in February, H2 Empower will provide 36 primary schools throughout central Ethiopia with 10 multilingual picture books printed in Ethiopia, as well as an additional 30 books to the school libraries. Please help the UUFH to aid Helen Boxwell and H2 Empower in this important effort to make a difference in the lives of our children. The ushers will be passing the baskets while Dylan plays. You can also send a check to the office or donate through the website, Zelle, or PayPal. Thank you all for your support of the work we do within and beyond these walls.
And if the ushers will come forward, please. Thank you. Will you join me in dedicating the offering to the work of our faith, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action? We dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Amen. Thank you. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in our closing hymn. It's number 211. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We're gonna do this in a very joyous way, right, Dylan? Okay. was fun. Was that fun for you? Okay, it was fun for me. Beloveds, go in peace, go in love, go know that you are always capable of growing, and spread that growth all around you. Go always in the footsteps of the holy. Amen. And now we extinguish our chalice flame, for our worship has ended, and our service begins.
Thank you, Dylan. Always amazing. An important announcement today, there's a Sophia Faz rehearsal right after the service with a 10-minute break to grab coffee and food in the sanctuary. Please join us for a Climate Cafe Wednesday, January 15th at 7 p.m. here at the Fellowship. This cafe is an invitation to share and listen with others in a facilitated, inclusive conversation about the climate crisis. There is no set agenda and no expectation to fix anything. The cafe is being facilitated by Moore Keshet, an integrative eco-art therapist, the Long Island Regional Coordinator of the Climate Psychology Alliance and faculty member of the Climate Emotions Resilience Institute. To register, go to the Flash or see Linda Morella, who is here today, after the service. They'd like to know how many people are coming. Next Monday, well, a week from tomorrow, they all are welcome to join together at the Suffolk Y Jewish Community Center in Comac for an interfaith celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, hosted by Abraham's Table of Long Island. Learn all the details in this week's e-newsletter, The Flash, and if you don't receive The Flash yet, just sign up at UUFH.org, and please join us at our potluck, and thank you to everyone who brought food to share today. Have a great rest of your Sunday.